Good morning. Welcome to 2020 Industry Insights. This is Bob Munn. The heart of 2020 is your IFPA Board of Directors' mission to prepare members for the next generation of community publishing opportunities. New community publishing insights every month. Now, today's session nearly set a record for pre-registration. We have a lot of new names in the house. So I want to give you some of you folks an opportunity to catch up. Just we have a little tradition that we always do here, just to make sure everything's going well. If everybody can see the welcome screen with my picture and the IFPA logo on it, and can hear me, would somebody give me a hand raise, please? Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, thank you, Abby. Okay, we're in good shape. We're in good shape. As I'm so fond of saying, nothing can possibly go wrong now. Okay, I want to remind everyone that recordings of past 2020 sessions are also available on the IFPA website. If you missed the session in the past, or if you'd like to review today's presentation, that's all part of the program, and we'll talk more about that after we're finished today. We have Dan Buendo over in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts, ready to go, but while the last few people are checking in, a couple of thoughts about our session that's coming up today. I'm not sure I believe that everything you need to know about life can be learned at the movies, but that's the excuse I've been using. Now, have any of you seen the Kevin Costner golf movie Tin Cup? Cinema connoisseurs generally agree it's no Caddyshack, but there's a sequence in Tin Cup that speaks to the dilemma we face as publishers. At one point, Costner's character goes into a self-destructive rage and breaks every club in his golf bag except for the 7-iron because he says, I never miss with a 7-iron. I'm comfortable with it. Now, he takes that one club, and you can only do this in the movies, and proceeds to par out the round and qualify for the U.S. Open. That single club golf round symbolizes the way traditional publishers view their businesses. For the first time in most of our careers, we can select from many available tools to help our customers be successful. Opportunities that didn't exist a few years ago are now on our customers' wish list. But how many of us are stubbornly sticking with traditional products simply because that's what we've always done? That's what we're comfortable with. Now, that's not a problem for Dan Buendo and his team at Reminder Publications and their new sister company, Access to Media. They use every club in the bag to make their customers successful. Dan runs one of the most innovative operations in our industry, and I'm proud to welcome him back to 2020. Let's say good morning to a good friend of yours and a good friend of mine, Dan Buendo. How are we doing, Dan?
Hi, Bob. Thank you. Good. How are you? Thank you very much. That was one of the best intros I think I've ever received, Bob. Thank you.
Oh, well, you know it comes from the heart. You know if I didn't mean it, I'd say it anyway, but in this case, I actually do. Okay,
All
while
right.
Dan and I magically execute the transfer of screen control across hundreds of miles from my computer to his, let me remind you that 2020 is an interactive program. You can drive the content with your questions. Use that dashboard on your screen to type in your questions or comments. We'll address as many as we can within our time constraints. You're going to have questions, and Dan's here to answer them. If you don't get your question addressed, it'll be because you were too shy to ask it. Now, you all set, Dan? It's looking good here.
Yep. All set. Ready to roll.
Okay, now, we're all hearing stories about local ad dollars being shifted from community publications like ours into online. Huge numbers of dollars. But the part that people don't talk about is the fact that very few of those dollars go on to be invested in ad placement. Advertisers redirect that money to projects that happen in the background, like building websites, managing Facebook and Twitter programs, search engine optimization. Now, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but apparently we're not really losing money to competing media. That money's going to people who provide the services you're going to talk about today, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna spend this money. They're gonna have a website as an example, whether they do it with you or they do it with somebody else. They're gonna spend that money on a website. I think we do quote lose money to web because sometimes they say, well, I just spent $2,500 on a website, I can't advertise, you know.
Hmm.
So why not have that $2,500 go to you instead of to Yellow Pages or some web designer? That's our philosophy.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess I'll just jump into it here. We have two divisions that we have been marketing over the last about 7 years. Um, we started ReminderWebDesign.com about 7 years ago. We've been designing websites for customers and non-customers alike. Probably 50 to 60% of those web customers are
Hmm.
actually not newspaper advertisers at all. So that's definitely new money. And then back in December 2010, we launched Envision Marketing Group, which is basically an ad agency where we'll do design work and logo work and brochures and all kinds of stuff like that. Um, so what are the most popular products that we'll call them non-print products that we're selling?
Hmm.
Website design is very big. Um, Managing people's Facebook pages is a part of that. We do email campaigns for companies, so they'll do like a quarterly newsletter, and we put that together for them and design it and send it out. And we're doing a lot of brochures, trifold brochures, and logo design. And that's one that, as a publisher, I know we were doing logos for free a lot of times. They're working on their ad, and next thing you know, the artist is spitting out a logo for them, and you just gave away, anywhere from a $300 to $800, logo for free out of your art department. Um, so if you want to throw all this web stuff aside for a second, we've done a ton of trifold brochures and definitely a lot of logo work. And that's something you should be selling and not giving away. Um, so again, these are just some examples of, I have a duct and vent cleaning company that we do a quarterly newsletter for them. It's done right through Constant Contact. We use Constant Contact, so there's no secret there. The customer could manage it himself if he wanted, but he doesn't want to. He wants to clean ducts, and he wants us to do his marketing. So we put together the articles and send it to him for a proof, and then it goes out the door. Um, that same customer was a print advertiser years ago, and we lost him because he just doesn't even promote to residential anymore. So, we had somewhat of a relationship with them, but it had gone down to zero on the dollars scale. But, when I got back in the door to talk to him about his marketing, he trusted us, but he just didn't really want to promote residential. He wants to go after commercial contractors. So we now get his newsletter. We manage his website, even though I didn't design it. I update it for him. We designed a whole trade show booth for him, a trade show booth. So we're probably still behind on the dollars, but it had turned to zero for the last few years. So now it's at least about $1,000 to $2,000 a year worth of this other stuff. These are just some logos that we have designed for people. There's a lot more than these, but this gives you a flavor. It's everything from hair salons to cooking place to sheet metal manufacturers. We've done all kinds of logos. This was some labels that we did for a food processing company. Definitely not an advertiser. They don't market to residential people at all. They're selling across the country, but they live in our area, read my paper, saw that we offered design and marketing services, and called us because they wanted some new logos for their line of quiche and all this other stuff.
Dan,
Those are
I was just thinking, probably everybody in this audience is shaking their head right now because, as you described it, everyone's had that occasion where someone in their art department, just in the course of things, spit out a logo, as you said it. So, and these people got all this work for free, and now you've got an avenue to generate revenue from it.
Yep,
Fascinating.
yeah, I mean, that's another example of one that we did a trade show booth for them as well. and this was just design work, and
Hmm.
we sold it at $85 an hour, and it wasn't huge, but it turned out to be, a little over $1,000 worth of stuff that we did for them from someone who is absolutely not a newspaper advertiser, but they live
Got
in our area and they
it.
like our
Okay.
paper, and they.
I don't want to interrupt you, but since I've already done it, just want to remind everybody: if you want to get a question up there, or you have a concern or something, use that dashboard on your screen, and we'll get as many of those addressed as we can. Okay, I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
Okay. Um, this was another logo project we did. This was a new place that opened up, one of those pitch and putt, ice cream places or whatever. We designed the logo. This was actually a caricature of the great grandfather or whatever, so we had to incorporate that into the go karts and all that. But we did brochures for them. We did postcards. We did their signage. Again, I'm sorry, the title of this thing was Facebook, and we will get to Facebook a little bit, but this is stuff that you could be doing today. We're graphic designers, that's what we do. But we're selling those services instead of giving it away, and we're marketing those services. Um, this new one here, this Rice Packaging Company, is our greatest success story that just closed a week ago. This company found us through search engine optimization. So they put into Google, Facebook marketing is what they put in, or social media marketing or something. And my site came up at the top, and they called us. And when I got in the door, this is an $11 million, packaging company. Again, total non-advertiser. They're not even in my exact circulation area, so they don't read my paper. They're in the neighboring state, right over the line. And we got in the door. I brought my whole team down there. We put together this whole presentation. This was just one of the things we kind of did this in our initial meeting with the guy. We got on this beer discussion as kind of a joke, and so when we went back in for our next meeting, it's hard to maybe see this, but you could see Rice Packaging. We put it on the thing, and we just did this little funny campaign of package responsibly. And we put this all on a case of beer. And so the whole case of beer had all these slogans and stuff like that on it. And that's how we started the meeting to close the guy, and it worked. And so this is our first real, ad agency account. Absolutely nothing to do with newspaper advertising at all. We're going to be doing their whole 9 yards, from social media to their website to search engine optimization, everything, on a monthly retainer fee. And we're psyched. I mean, that's a total success story so far.
That's terrific. You were talking about that earlier before you closed it. Congratulations, because that's
Yeah,
a huge win.
yeah. Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
a whole that's a
it
whole
was
nother
exciting.
world. But that's what's available to
Yeah,
everybody in our industry if we just want to think outside the box a little bit.
yeah. Um, so this was another part of that campaign that we presented to them, where they segment how they market. So they're targeting pharmaceutical companies who need to package up pills and stuff like that, and then auto is one of those segments. And so we just did this little splash campaign of we'll make your sparks look fly, and we put their box packaging on there and stuff like that. So this was just it was a huge presentation. I just wanted to give you a couple of the
Yeah.
slides.
Hey, Dan, are you moving away from the mic? It seems like you're fading in and out a little bit.
Nope, I'll try to make sure it's right in
Okay.
my face
I
here,
don't know if
but
anyone else is catching that or not, but
okay. So we've designed billboards for companies. Again, this was an account down in the Hartford area. We're actually in Springfield, Mass, but this was down in Hartford that was referred to us from a customer we had done their website for, referred us to these guys. So that was kind of actually both of these accounts right here, are in the Hartford market. One is one of those park ride and fly places. Again, not an advertiser, not even in our geographic market. And then this was a UFL football division in Hartford. Um, we've done menus, brochures, postcards, rack cards, all kinds of stuff. Um, a lot of it, though, and so you're sitting there and saying, well, I can do that. Obviously, I've got a graphics department. The thing to this, though, is a lot of these jobs are coming because we design their website. And so everybody, I know it's like this scare factor, like I don't want to be in the web design business. I don't know anything about it. The problem is, in a way, you have to be because it's the hub of where it all starts, because they're most concerned about their website. That's why they end up picking up the phone to call you, and then that's where all the opportunity starts, because you go, well, what do you do? What's your logo, or what are your salespeople handing out for brochures? And they trust you because you've done their website, and so it leads to, well, what are you doing about email marketing? Do you collect email addresses? You should have an email campaign going. It's an affordable way to market your business, and so it's it just opens up so many doors when you design the website for them. One of those big things is search engine optimization. Um, Again, it obviously relates to the website. And the other piece of this that I would mention is that if you're not doing it, I can guarantee you the yellow book and phone book guys are in there. This is what they're selling now. They're not selling phone books. They're selling, we'll get you to the top of Google. We'll get your website to the top of Google. Oh, you don't have a website? We'll give you a website. And so now when they're selling their $450 a month thing or whatever, it's packaging in all this stuff. And so they're locking them in for at least a 12-month deal. It's anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, and it includes a quote free website as part of that. And people just don't know any better, and they end up signing up with them. And so if you're not having this conversation with the customer, I can guarantee you the phone book people are. And that's, again, how you end up losing print revenue, is because, oh, I just signed up with Yellow Book for, $400 a month, and I got to cut back on my ads. Um, so in the old days where it was a dogfight with the yellow pages to save your print revenue, it still is. It's just they've changed their tune to selling all this web stuff, and we need to change our tune as well.
The
Um,
ironic thing about that, Dan, is if you were a fly on the wall at Google or Yahoo or at Microsoft at Bing or any of these places, their biggest dilemma is that they don't have local feet on the street and local credibility. We got that. We got the one piece of the puzzle they
right.
don't have.
Yep. Exactly. And when you bring up this conversation with, your advertisers are like, yeah, I'm getting bombarded from that stuff. You get all that spam and junk mail about, we'll get you to the top of Google, and most of it is spam. I have one that, it's so frustrating. We did lose one. We barely even got in the door. Our rep identified that this dentist was talking to a company about optimization, and he got in right at the tail end, but the guy hadn't signed up yet. But he signed up with a company out of Canada for $1,000 a month to do search engine optimization. I charge like $299 a month. So apparently I don't charge enough, because the guy went with them instead of dealing locally. He went with this company out of Canada because they quote specialize in dentist things, dental marketing or whatever. And but it was frustrating. But luckily we barely got in the door, and hopefully it doesn't work out, and we'll be there when the guy falls on his face. But it was insane. $1,000 a month.
Dan, we've got a question
So
here right now. Uh, does Dan
all right.
have any recommendations for learning SEO so that we can offer it to our clients?
Yes, search engine optimization for dummies. No joke. Um, it's a thick book. I'm not even kidding. It works. Um, we've had really good success getting companies to the top of Google. It's uh, local companies that we're working with. I'm sure if you're trying to do this on a national basis, there's maybe some tricks that aren't there, but it's an excellent book. It works. I used it, and we're getting really good results for our people now. Um, The other thing is there's an organization, I think it's seomoz.com. So SEOMOZ, it's either .com or .org, and that's like an association of, propeller heads and things like that. And from what I hear, that is an excellent source. Um, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors to its search engine optimization. I can show you some sites we've done in a minute and show you what we do. Ultimately it comes down to having keywords on their site and geographic towns on their site that people are searching for and that kind of stuff. That could be a seminar in and of itself. This is one of the marketing pieces we use to promote it. So this runs as house ads in our paper. It runs as bill stuffers, direct mail, email campaigns. Ultimately, when I got into the quote marketing business, I just looked at it as I'm doing all this stuff for myself. I'm doing email campaigns. I do direct mail to promote my, fall home improvement sections. I'm doing all these things. Let's just do it for our customers, um, and you got to make a leap of faith and go for it. Um, on the Facebook side, the biggest thing with Facebook is people don't, they're afraid of it. I mean, if you get a guy who's really into Facebook, he's not going to hire you to manage his page. He doesn't need you, It's the guy who knows nothing about it. He's a carpenter or owns a restaurant and he knows nothing about Facebook, and you can help him get over the hump, help him get set up, and then help him, manage it. And just go and show a few. All right, so this is a Facebook a tab that we set up for one of our customers. Again, this was one of those park, ride, and fly places down at the airport, not the one I showed you earlier. This is one of their competitors, actually. This is a non-advertiser. We've done, let me come over to their main page here. We did all these red tabs here, little logos are all Facebook landing pages that we set up for them. The app I use for that is called woobox.com. So it's WOOBOX.com, and it's a free app, and it allows you to load these these landing pages basically. And these landing pages, all this is right here, it's a JPEG. A regular graphic artist designed this. Does not have to be a web designer. This is just a regular, JPEG. And then I use this app to load it up there. And then this links over to their website. And so what I did is I just took all of these, these things here, prepaid cards, Express Club, reservations, prepaid vouchers. These were all tabs on their own website. I didn't design their website, but I just brought the components that were on their website, I brought them to life on their Facebook page. This was probably about, I don't know, $800 worth of stuff that we designed for them. Again, you don't need to be a web designer to do that. The other stuff, again, this is more just setting up their Facebook page. It's not a ton of recurring revenue, but we just designed this thing here. It's just a photo, and then he has this thing that he advertises in our paper, Wednesday nights, family night or whatever. So again, we just took his ad and turned it into a Facebook tab and installed it using that app. You can get into contests and all that other stuff, and that app that I gave you will, you can run contests through that. These tabs are free through that WooBox, but contests cost like $29 a month or something like that, and there's a whole bunch of bells and whistles it'll do with it. So that's Facebook in a quick 2 minutes here.
But if just to go back, the essence of what you're saying there about making money on Facebook is we have this default idea that everybody knows how to do that. And the fact is, as you said with your duct cleaner, that guy just wants to clean ducts, and he's just as flummoxed by all this stuff as we are. So if we take control, we can be his guy, and it's as simple as
Yep,
that.
that's exactly it. Yep. Our biggest I've talked a lot about non-print advertisers and selling, new people, but this guy here, A.W. Brown's, is my largest, print advertiser. It's a, home and garden store. This one we've taken from soup to nuts. I mean, we design the site. We update this site every week. These are, items right off of his ad that we're throwing on the website here. So he's paying us an hourly, it's an hour a week or whatever, and we update his homepage. We update his Facebook page. Um, it's probably, I don't know, probably about at least $600 a month worth of marketing stuff that we're doing in addition to him still running his ad. So we're just these posts here. It looks like it's him posting it, A.W. Browns. It's really not. It's us. I mean, it's my marketing person posting that each week um, for him, and we just keep track of our time, and it's basically 85 an hour, and that might only be 5-10 minutes a week, but we just keep track of it through the month. In between updating his home page and updating his Facebook page and doing some special stuff, it adds up.
Is
Uh,
that ghost writing that you do there something that you do for a lot of those accounts, or is that something that's fairly limited?
it we'll do it for as many as want us to.
Hmm.
Some of them, once we kind of get their page set up and they realize, hey, all I got to do is post that I'm having a sale this weekend or whatever, and then they'll do it. And you kind of lose that weekly updating of their Facebook page because they start to figure it out. Um, but some of them, obviously, they could do it themselves. They just don't. They don't want to, and they don't have the time. Um, book, oddly enough, is probably on the smaller side of what we do. I do have a slide coming up here of just kind of what are the most popular products. Where is the money coming from for us, the non-print money? Websites is the biggest one. It's anywhere from $1,500 to on up to $3,000, for a website, and then from there, that then leads to all these other things. Websites are good money. The new thing now is mobile websites. So we can create a mobile version of their site. If it's one that we did, it's a nice add-on piece. So it's a couple $100 extra because we did the base site, and oh, by the way, you got to have a mobile version of that, and we sell it as an add-on piece. Or even if we didn't do their site, and it's not, someone else designed their site, but it's not mobile ready, we can do a separate, mobile version of that. So again, this is a house ad that we do, email campaign, and bill stuffers and stuff like that. And this is definitely we're doing a couple of these a week probably. Let's see here. Uh, I talked about how we charge, and we kind of keep going back and forth with this on how we do this. But one of the basic ways we do is they can buy a block of time. So we'll talk to them about an email campaign, about doing a trifold brochure, about updating their logo, and we'll give them some estimates on the time, and then we'll sell them a block of time. So, between the brochure, the logo, and the email campaign, you're looking at about 12 hours. So they'll then, buy a 10-hour block, and then whatever's left over, we'll bill them at 85 an hour. Or they might buy a 20-hour block and say, okay, and then we'll do all those projects. We keep track of it, and then whatever's left over, they use towards future projects. This has worked pretty well for us. We're getting away from it a little bit more. Where now I'm going more towards um, flat fees. Like with the search engine optimization, I used to do that through the block of time. Now I'm doing it as it's $2.99 a month with a 3-month minimum. Um, a lot of companies have like a 6-month minimum, and I probably should do that. So I'm experimenting more. Same with like the email newsletters, where okay, that's going to be whatever $2.95 every time we do one. I'm still learning my way. It is a different business. Um, so I'm just experimenting with different pricing structures. Um, where do you start? Uh, First thing I would say is look. within your own building, do you have, in my case, I had a graphic designer who was designing websites on the side. I mean, this goes back now, 8 years ago or whatever. Um, and so I started with her and said, hey, if we sell some sites, will you design them instead of building ads this week, And she said, sure. And, it started where it was a day a week, then it was 2 days a week, and then now it's full time. That's all she does is design websites for me. And now I've got another person that I did the same thing with. I had another graphic artist who had some web background. She wasn't quite as good as the other one, but the other one taught her. And so now she spends half of her week designing websites. In the other half, she still builds ads. So at our busy deadline days, she's over building ads. But then when it's slower in the beginning of the week, she's over designing websites and learning the web business. Um, so I mean that's worked out well for us. You probably have a graphic artist in your building who knows at least something about designing websites.
And Dan, if
Deputize
I
them,
could interject
get them
here
on
for a
it.
second, because I know you and I have talked about this in the past, because I know that we've got some folks in this room saying, I can't get the people in comp to do the stuff I need them to do now. How are they going to take on take on something like this? There are ways around this, and if you were in our 2020 session last month with Justin Jarena and that Site Swan thing, you can make this you don't need that much bench strength to become a player in local website design. We're going to talk about that a little further down the line, but with the importance of building websites being the hub of your non-print revenue program, I just wanted to interject that there. Just because you
Well,
don't have
that's
the bench strength that Dan has doesn't mean you still can't do this.
Well, and that's a great point, Bob. Actually, the way I started with her, you just jogged my memory here, going back way back when, is she actually designed them on the side, and I paid her a percentage. So I think at the time I was charging $1,000 for a website, and I paid her 28% or something like that. So I'd pay her $280. She would design it at home over the weekend, and on Monday she'd bring in a website, and that's how I started. So it didn't interrupt her workflow at all, and it was extra money for her, and it worked out, And then eventually, I started bringing her into the fold during the work week, and yeah, I had to replace her hours, and at some point, you have to take a little bit of leap of faith that okay, I'm going to take 2 days a week, so I got to go replace her 2 days a week with a graphic artist so that she can sit and just do websites. But you do that once you're busy. I started totally on the side with her for probably 6 months. The other part is partnering with good vendors. Justin's product, I think, I've used it on a couple sites just to test it out when he was launching, and it's a good way to start. I mean, you can get a basic website that looks pretty nice and has all the functionality, and you don't need to be a web designer at all. Um, and I'm sure there's other people that do that same thing. Um, Next, most popular non. So, what are the services we're selling the most? Web design is a biggie, but brochures, trifold brochures, we've done a ton of those. Logo design, search engine optimization is a big piece of it, and then Facebook is probably the smallest piece of it. Whoop. Um, Number three, create a separate division or name. I think that there's, that rice packaging company that I just landed, would have never, hired The Reminder to be their marketing company. They hired Envision Marketing to be their company, and so we kind of have two, as I mentioned. Reminder Web Design is the way it all started, and that at least played up to our name. Yeah, we've been here 50 years. I don't want to make it a secret. I want to play up to that name, but at the same point, I wanted a web component. I wanted them to know that we are experts in this stuff, and we're a local expert that you can trust. But we're not just the newspaper. We're more than the newspaper.
Once you did that, and I think this is just reaffirming something you've already said. Now, you people who wouldn't talk to you in the past as a print publication now are willing to talk to you as a high tech operation.
Yeah, it definitely, You need that because it is in the beginning. It was like, well, you're just a newspaper. What do you know about the web? And now it's to the point where we're getting referrals, and I don't know how we compare as far as uh, the web leader in this area, but I have to think we're designing more sites probably than true web designers that's all they do. Uh, the last piece might be the toughest one. Find a non-print sales champion. In my company, that's basically me. I spend a ton of time on this, maybe too much, I don't know. But this, when a lead comes in, it comes to me. I have my salespeople bringing the lead to me. So even though I'm going to pay them on the sale, if they bring in a website, they're going to get paid on it. But I'm presenting it and I'm closing it. And hopefully soon we're about to bring on I know one of the questions that usually pops up. I don't know if you got any questions, Bob, but one of them is, do you have a separate sales force for this? And we currently don't, but we're about to hire a dedicated rep for to represent the two divisions, the web design and the marketing. But we haven't had that so far. It's all been through our own house ads and through our own marketing. That's how the leads come in. And guess what? People read your paper and it works. But someone's got to field that lead and close the deal. Every website's different. It's not like you're selling a 2x2 ad that's always $50. You could have, I've had, home improvement guys who the site was $9.95. I've had other home improvement guys where the site was, $4,000, and you got to be able to recognize those opportunities and upsell them, when they're there. So that is a little bit, you need somebody who can lead the charge. Um, that's about it. I know we're over
Okay.
our 20 minutes today.
You were right, by the way. That question did come up about the separate sales forces, and as it always does.
Okay.
and and that's you find a champion, and until one arises, it's probably got to be you
Yeah.
or the person most committed to it. Okay. Um,
Yeah. I mean, if you have someone who's comfortable at least with the conversation and the web and email marketing and maybe it's I don't know. It is a higher level conversation that you need to be able to dig into the person's business, identify what their strengths and weaknesses are, and help them market those things.
isn't that kind of what
So
we've been saying we've been doing all these years anyway?
yeah, yeah, supposedly, right?
Okay, Dan,
Um,
we've got some questions lined up here. If you've got some time for them, one thing I did want to say, thinking like a print guy, because this is the thing that really stood out to me in looking at some of these presentations that different folks have done in the 2020 program. When we think of all those clients over the years who've played media hopscotch, I'm going to try a little bit of this, I'm going to try a little bit of this. They're all over the place doing that. As Dan described, once you're doing their web services, that's the spoke of that's the hub of everything else that happens. And that's not a few weeks here, a 13-week there. That's a 52-week commitment. You're their guy, and once you're in the tent like that, you're in really good shape. Now, Dan, I'm just going to give you
Definitely.
these questions in the order that they came in. Uh, okay, and this goes back to Facebook. Is Dan going back through a company's history and adding their timeline on Facebook?
Adding their timeline. Adding to their timeline.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
the idea is that the timeline's kind of a relatively new development, and I think it's more like an update, but it's just me guessing.
I mean, we convert them to timeline if they're not on there yet. I've never gone back and added to their timeline if that's what the question is, but that's a great idea. um, that would definitely be a good way to add some hours to what you do and to fill out their page. So
When it
thank
comes
you
to
for
great
sure. If
ideas, you
that's
wouldn't
where
be
they were going
surprised
with
where it
that.
came from.
Yeah. Um, what we also do as part of that, just these are little things that you should be doing. Looking for my Facebook thing. is we reserve their name. Like you can only have. I don't know if you can see the URL up here, and it's getting a little. Let me just go to this. So we make it so their name is facebook.com/executive valet parking or Fazio's Pizza or whatever. So I mean,
Hmm.
out of the default, Facebook gives you this garbly-gook long name that with numbers and all this other stuff, and there's a way to basically go in and it's like saving your own domain name, but it's your
Yeah.
Facebook domain name. So that's one of the other things we do, just as part of the setup. And customers don't even know about that,
Okay.
most of the time.
For those of you folks, if I don't communicate your question properly, don't hesitate to redirect me from the question box there. And we still do have room for some more. But the next question is he using any particular software to convert traditional websites to mobile sites?
We are using our own content management system. So we have a mobile component that's part of that. So um, we use a local programmer out of Connecticut that we work with. Um, and so I guess no, there are companies out there that will convert your site to mobile. I've looked into those. I think like Be Mobilized was one that I was looking at, but we're not using those.
Hmm. Okay. Um, what programs are you using to build websites? Dreamweaver?
Um, No, I mean, the content management system we're using is called Invisible Gold, but again, that's a local programmer out of Connecticut, and so a lot of people will use WordPress or Drupal and all these others, and we don't use those. We're working with a local guy, and the reason why I work with him is because and I guess the difference between working with like um, Justin's package, which is a great way to start, but what happens is, like this is a chamber website that we did for one of our chambers. We've done a couple of the chambers in our area, and they want a searchable business directory in there. And to get that in, to get this searchable directory in there, I don't think you can do that through like Justin's offering, and so the difference between a low end website and a $3,000 or $4,000 website are things like these databases and shopping carts and all that other stuff, and that's what you don't really get, I don't think, with with a kind of a cookie cutter type thing. But
Hmm.
it's a great way to start, and
Sure.
I highly recommend it if you're not if you're not doing anything, use his or one that's like it. I know Cooler Ads I think has something similar, and I would be using one of those.
Okay. Um, do you host the sites, or who do you use for hosting?
Yeah, we have a partnership again with a local service provider. I have a couple at this point. I actually have two servers, that I'm hosting our sites through with him, and they're backed up every night and all that stuff. Um, Hosting, in the end, it's not a ton of money, but it certainly adds up. We have everybody on an annual cycle. So I bill them $300 a year for hosting. That includes updates to their to the content management system. So if we do an update to the software, it's covered in that $300. So anyways, that $300 a year at this point for January, I was just looking at it the other day. Um, I have this coming January, I have $52,000 worth of hosting that's ready to, that will on January 1st, I'll be billing. And any new sites that I sell between now and the end of the year, we're just going to add to that number. So if that doesn't get your attention, I mean, it certainly got mine. I hadn't looked at it in a while, and I'm like, wow, that's going to be a great way to start the year with a $52,000.
You're not sweating
So
those renewals or anything, are you?
what's that?
You're not sweating those renewals or anything, are you?
No, no, and I mean, I tell you, it's the amount that you lose is very, very, you lose one or two a year maybe, no, they're there.
It's
You're their web guy,
it's
and it's recurring money.
just like we're saying. That's the difference between the traditional customer who's playing media hopscotch, and then when you have a product like this, you got them for life unless you screw it up.
and
It's
and now people we designed their site for 5 or 6 years ago, now we're doing a ton of not renewals but facelifts basically,
mhm.
so it's another $1,000 here, to update their homepage and to bring some new stuff into their site, so that's been great, recurring money for us.
Okay, we've got another question here, Dan, and I think it's with regard to the sales conversation that you're having with folks who you've traditionally done all this design work for free. We've designed all these great ads, we've done all this stuff for free, and now you're going to transition them to being charged for things like logos and things like that. Did you find it difficult to make that transition, and how'd your folks do that?
Um, no, I talk to my reps. Barbara's talking to our reps every week in the sales meeting, but I go probably, once a month, and and just talk about all this stuff because the comfort level for the rep has to be there, in order for them to sell it. And it's still, I was looking at it the other day. Of the money that we're bringing in, 75% of it is coming from house ads and our own marketing. Only 25% of it is coming from my reps. Um, so I don't know if that's a good or bad number. I look at it as a bad number. I think they should be bringing in more. But it's a good number in that, again, your paper works and marketing works, and people are buying this, regardless of the rep, But anyways, um, the reps don't want to work for free either. So believe me, once they're on board, and as soon as that conversation comes up about a logo or whatever, we've just got them instructed of like, just bring me the lead, bring the appointment in, and we'll take it from there and we'll sell them for you. And so
Reps like
their
that.
goal is like they like that. I mean, they don't have to do any work other than bring the lead in, and then we sell them as much as we can, and I pay them on it.
So what I'm hearing here is you haven't really begun to harvest your traditional customers yet. This is mostly new business.
It is mostly new. I mean, the reps, some get it more than others, but some have, literally, probably not brought in a web lead while others are bringing me one a week. Um, um, so I don't know if that answered the question. I forgot what the question
Okay,
was.
the question really was how do you wean people off of free design when they've become accustomed to it? And I think the answer to it really is the people who've already gotten a free logo and already gotten a lot of that stuff gratis. They've already been served. That's been taken care of. These are new
Exactly.
customers and new things, and it's
Yeah.
not
I,
not not
I mean,
really a. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm doing one now. A tree. It came from my classified rep out front. Um, the guy just said something about website or whatever, and she got she said, "Oh, well, we do websites." So this guy came in. Well, it turns out he's got a tree company, a landscaping company, and I forget what the third one is. We haven't gotten to that one yet, but he markets them all separately. He wants them to be perceived as separate businesses. And anyway, so she brought the lead in, and we got 3 websites out of it. We've done only one so far. We're going one at a time, but and we got brochures for all 3 of them. So I mean, this is at least going to be $4,000 to $5,000 between, and that's a deal. I gave him a deal because it was 3 sites. Uh, um, but I mean, it was a home run. That came from my classified rep out front.
Hey, buddy, do you remember at the beginning of this when you were talking about giving $1,000 to anybody who could find a misspelling on one of your websites? And it's a good thing you didn't do that.
There's probably one
We
on
did
every one.
we have a proofreader in the house. I'll tell you about it
Oh,
in offline.
okay.
But
P-
well, now we
Please
got two
do.
of them. Now we got two of them.
Oh,
Fortunately,
all right,
we
cool.
didn't make that offer. But
Uh,
okay, we're getting up against the end of our allotted time here, and boy, we could go on this for a long, long time. Uh, Based on just based on Dan's experience and what he's been able to bring to the table for the industry. Um, okay, now let's see. Remember that delay we were talking about, Dan? I think we're
yeah,
suffering
I
from it
think we
right
got
now.
your screen.
Yeah, now we're going.
I think we
Now we're
got
going.
your screen.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Nothing can possibly go wrong now. Um,
Yeah, all
but
right.
I know Dan's given us a lot to think about, and I want to thank him for each of you. As I said before, if there's a part of this presentation you'd like to review, or you want someone else in your organization to see it, we'll have it available on the IFPA website very soon, or at least as soon as Dan comes back from vacation. Now, if you'd like to revisit past episodes, just to give you an idea, last month, Justin Jarina showed us that if we want to build websites for our customers, we don't have to have experts on the payroll the way Dan does. If today made you curious about opportunities in this area, and I can't imagine why it wouldn't, check out the replay of Justin's session. In another session, Tim Bingaman, president of the Circulation Verification Council, showed us a case study of one publication's transition from home delivery to demand distribution. And who could forget the session in which J.W. Owens, commander in chief of the iPad Army, showed us how his sales teams were using the iPad in the field. This one was particularly popular, and I'm betting the views of this on YouTube are eventually going to go over 100. In April, Barbara Perry and Doug Fabian overcame all kinds of technical obstacles to deliver insights on some of the contests and innovative motivational ideas they use with their sales teams. In March, Brian Rushing and Terry Trahan took us behind the scenes of the startup Point of View Rushing Media's an innovative new community magazine in Houma, Louisiana. Before that, Luann Sorensen and Tino Dentner from Metro Creative Graphics showed us some new twists on traditional themes by blending print and online advertising initiatives. And coming full circle, our first presentation featured Dan Buendo, today's guest, along with Mark Helmer from Beldenville, Wisconsin, discussing how each of them utilize an agency business model in conjunction with their traditional community publications. And by the way, this whole idea for these 2020 sessions came from the fertile minds of these two guys. So if you've enjoyed these sessions half as much as I have, Mark and Dan are who we need to thank. Now, as I said before, you can see videos of those sessions on YouTube or access them through the IFPA website. But as for the future, believe it or not, in September, 2020 will be preempted. Apparently, someone thought going to New Orleans would be more fun than sitting through one of these webinars, if you can imagine that. But September 20th through the 23rd, IFPA in the Big Easy, New Orleans, and all that that implies. Anyway, besides looking at those earlier sessions online, if you want to talk to those folks in person, they'll all be there. I booked my airfare last week and I was stunned at how little it actually was. I've become so accustomed to getting hosed by the airlines, I almost didn't know how to behave when I got a good value. The people who know about these things tell me the hotel's filling up fast, so now is the time to get moving on that one. But in the meantime, this is Bob Munn speaking for Dan Buendo and the entire IFPA Board of Directors saying the future doesn't begin tomorrow. It's starting right now, this instant, with what you plan to do with the ideas you saw today. There's still plenty of time today to help your customers make some money, and you're just the folks to do it. Have a great day, everyone, and thanks for stopping in.